Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why I keep saying ladies. No female in their right mind buys my crap. Like, I don't know. It should be gentlemen, lads, boys, and the crew. You know, it's whatever. Call number 4. It's going to be one of them. It's going to be a long one. We're going to be breaking down quite a lot of, like, before I hit the recording button of everyone in the call, I pretty much broke it all down. But for you guys' sake, just listening to this recording, because, you know, you have lives, you want to stay in bed, you want to actually, you know, get your 8 hours. You know, you want to take advantage of a show over the nose, poor smucks want to try to take these calls live. But, you know, whatever the fuck. I'm going to try my best now during this call to try and fucking break down some of the root mechanical fundamental ways that a human mind concludes decision making. What's the steps that a mind goes through that determines the choice that one makes, and not necessarily practical for marketing use, more so just as the raw mechanics of it, the cog sizes, the lengths of it, the torques on each cork, the energy that is provided, the thinking time, all of this fluffy stuff that is basically rooted in philosophy most of the time, and the other time is just some random guy's name and some chart, and you just learn it in business academics. It's not really useful in 99% of business, really. But I want you to kind of accept that as it is right now, but then still stay on and listen to all of this, because once with everything, when it comes to understanding and getting better at anything, we have to start at the bare roots, the beginnings, and we have to understand all of the factors at play, all of the fixed and variables that are moving within this machine. And then we can begin to start describing and breaking it down. Okay, these are the variables at play that determines how a mind works, and the internal voices and the external voices that impart decisions in your own internal dialogue that determines your favorite colors, your tastes in music, your decisions of do I want to have chicken tonight or Chinese. It's crazy, it's absurd. But if we want to answer those fundamental questions, like, I want him to buy my hot dog, it has to start with, okay, we have to understand where the mind goes, the decision thing, the processes that come into it. And if that hasn't scared you away, if that hasn't kind of been like, Jesus wept, this effing guy, like, this is going to be one of them particular calls, you owe it to yourself, trust me, because this topic is very rarely ever discussed at length, as we were about to get into. And I'm kind of excited to get some of your guys' opinions on it as well, because it's very rarely that I even get to bring up these subjects and explore them into this detail. But we're going to open the box, we're going to explore the tools, and we're going to see what everyone makes of it all, and we're going to see if we can all come away from it a little bit better. So all in all, I'm going to try my best to break down the science of how to encourage in discussions around indirect desired action. And then we're going to apply it to the basics of copywriting, client avatar, Venn diagrams, all of that mushy doodah kind of crap. So let's crack on with it all. The rules, you all know the rules. For the sake of the couple of new people that haven't, they're the rules. You'll have an opportunity to speak as and where, blah, blah, blah. Legal stuff, pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you're screwed. Simple as. As always, I'm going to audibly read this out, so there's going to be no failure to understand. There's going to be nothing lost in communication. If you do not agree with this at the point of watching the recording or live right now, you guys, leave. Get out of here. Because, you know, if you think that you're not going to be liable for this stuff because, oh, I got it from Jimmy, my business partner, you will be. You will be. So let's keep it from there. You acknowledge by not viewing this recording, you agree that the content was produced for the purposes and sole purposes of education and entertainment only, and you agree that the use of anything said or explored henceforth is used, applied, or created at your own discretion and own personal loss or legal responsibility, within no way, shape, or form holding myself, Jordan Carter, my business, businesses, representatives, or colleagues accountable in any way and absolved of all actions taken by yourself, your representative, or anyone you share or discuss this content with moving henceforth. Okay, checkbox done. Got that out of the way. Second to last call, new Monday. Second week, 2 calls left, and a whole bunch of other miscellaneous calls we're going to probably knock out in the subsequent days after call 5, which is probably going to be where the most, the meat hits the road. You've built the train now. Let's put some coal in it, some Tesla batteries, and then see what we can do moving forward, building this stuff, which I think where the most tangible value of this mastermind thing is going to come from. You've got the information now. Let's do it. Let's patch in together the interconnecting things for your particular situation moving forward of all of that. You got the date. Legal roadmaps unknown. I've already mentioned this, guys. Like tomorrow, the time you are watching this recording right now, check this out because it could have changed. You could be watching this a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. I guarantee that there's one thing certain in this life is that the legal world of anything is never going to remain consistent. It's going to have amendments. It's going to have changes. So keep that in mind at all times. Don't think if something works today, it's going to work the same tomorrow. That stuff, and this stuff. Okay, so like I said, we're going to try our best to start talking about perceptions, biases, the core fundamentals, the variables, all of that mushy philosophical kind of crap, and we're going to try and discuss, okay, this is how the cogs work, this is how we can apply the thinking and knowledge of how those cogs works to get more of the outcomes and actions and the results that we so want. All the qualitative mushy type stuff, the stuff why the color yellow does this, or why this is this is that. This is the stuff where most analytical engineering type marketers, myself included, kind of start shutting down because it's just infuriating, it's insane, and it's just downright like if everybody could just read a book, they would understand why my product or service does this, this, and that. But it never is the case. We have to adapt, we have to learn, we have to evolve, we have to modify as best as we can and manipulate the variables we can control to have the highest probability of consistent outcomes that we want moving forward. And as we get through this, my explanations in this will get a little bit better as the alcohol starts wearing off. So let's knock it all out. And the last one, my God, I don't even want to read that. I'm not looking forward to knocking that one out. So we've done call 1, call 2, 3. We're on this one today. Next call is going to be pretty big, and the Q&A kind of crap, whatever. Anyway, the actual content now. Sippy time. Okie pokey. So I want to ask as well, for the sake of people that are watching the recording of this, any intimate pauses, that's me stuffing my face with something. So keep that in mind as well. My plan for this, which has become accustomed on how I'm delivering this kind of crap, it's in essentially 3 parts. First things first, I'm going to try my best to break down the big picture. I'm not going to dive into interconnecting theories and opinions and debates on things that are so unquantifiable that your dog's opinion on it could be just as valid as someone that spent 80 years in philosophy knocking this shit out. So I'm going to try my best to bring all the bits and bobs and doodads together, and we're going to look at it from a 30,000 foot view. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to try our best to kind of like bring in some supporting experience and exploratory information around the facts, the debates, the theory that determines people's opinions on certain things. And then we're going to kind of build it all from that. And then once we've discussed those 2 things, you should have a good understanding, at least I would like to think a significant advantage when it comes to manipulating the unconscious mind into certain actions, which can be applicable in all walks of life, arguments, debates, winning, I don't know, in instilling biases that to your benefit, all the way to, it sounds so daft to think of it like this. I'm giving you guys a bazooka just to understand the best kind of subject line, or the best first sentence, or how to write to an audience from a one-to-one and then a one-to-many basis. It's kind of absurd and silly, but that's what we're going to be talking about at the last component, the last section. I'm going to try my best to not make anybody just want to eat a bullet along the whole way. So first things first, This is the kind of crap that we've spoken about so far. These have been pre-discussed systems that you kind of know exist, systems that you could easily compartmentalize into departments, into your business, your systems, all of that kind of stuff. As you all know, you've all got different gradients and different competencies in all of these particular things, different levels of knowledge, blah, blah, blah. But you all understand it all comes together. It's all going to be the, let's say, the hat of the business owner, the super affiliate that we spoke about in core one. It's all going to be the forefront of your mind, back of your mind. You're going to have the books, you're going to have the knowledge, you're going to have the systems, you're going to have it all together, culminating into hopefully something that's going to get you to your goals a little bit faster. It's all in all. So, but for this particular section of this, some of the pillars that keep this brain up is this thing, this cultivation thing, this stuff that is thrown all over the place. It's very difficult to even attempt to compartmentalize and then regurgitate in a way from somebody that either doesn't even know what reputation, trust, respect, love, admiration. I like that color. Oh, I like that kind of burger. Feelings come from in the marketing business ecosystem. Yeah, the big question is kind of an understatement of the century when it comes to this kind of crap, the qualitative conversation. And then from this, it's like spurts out into smaller sub-questions, such as how can we generate attention? Some core philosophical marketing relevant questions that are based upon this grounding of thought, conscious thought, unconscious thought. How can we generate actions from whatever medium we so to choose: written, audio, visual, dance, sensory systems, smells, indirect kinetic notions with arrows, with paths, with cue systems, all of this stuff. How do we get people to decide to purchase at this point along the journey and instead of the other point of the journey? How do theme park designers know where to put vending machines? All of these, how do car park attendants or people that design and produce and lay out car parks, how are they mapped strategically for maximum utility? It's insane, but this stuff is applicable everywhere. Like, how can we determine? I'm not going to. Anyway, moving on. He's the one that I mentioned before recording. Like, how can we do all of that without the usual flim-flam cop-out, just make an avatar kind of crap? Because that's usually what people just stick around and talk around. Just make an avatar, just figure out where their location is or how old they are or their interests and likes and all that crap, and then they will cop out. It's cringe-inducing. I'm not going to repeat myself and all this kind of stuff, but you get it. Hopefully I'm picking people's ears up when I've told you here and now we're not going to be spending an hour talking about a fucking avatar, unless it's the film, which is pretty fucking awesome. But step one in this journey, we need to open our mind. Literally at times, let's say you're going to want to open your mind by the halfway point talking about this kind of crap. Because seriously, we need to understand the whole landscape first and foremost. In our attempts of trying to understand that, we got to first leave our biases at the door. We've got to understand, if in order to break down the world into these small bite-sized chunks, we can't impose our own thinkings and biases and terminologies and all of these other things onto these variables that should not be infected by your own train of thought. Because as we all know, 100 people in a room, all from the same age group as you, all in the same school as you that you grew up in, 25 years later, they're in a room with you. You ask them one question, you're going to get 100 different answers. We can't impose our own biases on this stuff if we want to be able to manipulate the masses. We have to do it the other way around. So it's very important. Put your own crap in a box, put it in a shelf somewhere in your mind when you're ready to begin discussing and talking about this stuff for mass manipulation, when it comes to being able to creatively guide people to, I say manipulation, but again, don't bias that word on unethical practices, right? We'll get to all of this in subsequent slides, but keep that in mind. So in order to answer these questions, breaking the world down into bite-sized chunks, we need to, as I've broken down here, I do it through long form conversation and just talking about the core foundations of that why statement. Why is that the case? Why is that? And once we've discussed enough why questions, we will inadvertently have the majority of the, oh, that's why answers. But to help you along this journey, I've got 3 tools that I want to talk about first. They're going to kind of be your guides. They're going to be your translators. They're going to be your Rosetta Stones when we're breaking down the mind and how people think, act, talk, and break over these items down. Now, these are 3 big words, guys, but it's not that scary. It's not that crazy. Maybe this is the first time you've discovered these words, maybe not, but these are going to be the core variables, the core tools we're going to be breaking down to like some mass propaganda kind of crap. So first things first, epistemology. What is epistemology? Epistemology is knowledge, it's truth, it's experience, it's belief, and not only belief, it's biased belief, justified belief, it's hive mind belief. If you when you were a little boy growing up, if your dad laid a I don't know, a apple on the mantelpiece, and every morning he pointed that apple and he said, son, that's your real father. Every day he said that. When you were 35 or you're going to school, you would only ever know that there was a cross opinion of fact and evidence and over knowledge that would say that that isn't your father because it's an apple. It's not DNA. We can prove it, do this or that. But this is the epistemological perspective, essentially trying to figure out the nature of knowledge and how it relates to truth, experience, justification. We're going to be using this tool to do just that. Axiology. What the hell's axiology? Sounds like a bloody World of Warcraft talent type name. It's axiology in its most simplistic form is the understanding or the study of what something's worth, a value of something, the thinkings that go into, oh, it's worth this because of that. It's worth this because of the actions that have gone into it. It's worth this because of the people that have gone into it. It's worth this because of the choices that those people made to make it worth this amount. We're going to be breaking that down, and we're going to be comparing it and talking around how can I put this? How knowing somebody determines not only philosophical value, but real tangible value of an item, of an action, of a event. We're able to then infer, produce, and create the series of suggestions, paths, actions that will be aligned with their philosophical belief in the value of something. So thus get them acting on this without telling them to click this button or buy it, because we've prioritized their perception of value, their perception of cost, their opinions on certain individuals that share those values. Are you with me? Lovely, sweet. And the last and final, and the easiest by far to get your head around, the logic of it. Most people, when I ask them what logic even is, believe it or not, I do this, just because I'm a weirdo. Most people don't actually know what logic is by definition, right? What is logic? Is it a game of chess? Is it that thing that the Greeks were known for? Who wants to actually stand up right now and actually have it like a go at this? Who wants to be put on the spot and give me what their belief of logic is? And if you're reading off Wikipedia, you're going to be wrong. I guarantee it. So who wants to win some smiley face points for this call? Or am I just going to have to unmute somebody manually and just put them on the spot? Coward. Do it. Okay, Sarah, do it.
I think it's more of a logic is just deduction, right? From the truths or facts that you know. And that's really all I can think as to what it is fundamentally.
Interesting. Now, does everybody want to kind of like pick apart how he phrased that? He initiated the conversation with the claim to just justify the authority moving forward in his answer of, I think. We will very quickly understand that by studying epistemological perspectives and axiology theory of why Saraf even began that sentence, that answer from his own mind, he structured it in the way that he did, coming through. So thank you for that, Saraf. I didn't actually want the definition. I just wanted to be able to put that initial point at the forefront of people's minds, that if I am able to explain a point, to talk about a point, to discuss a point, I need to first understand the blocks that went into your decision making to construct that sentence like that, and why that was the case. And even he's the gold now. By knowing that, we're able to align ourselves to Saraf's beliefs, core values, his hero characters, his villains, his people that he would find condescending, the people that he would find attractive, people we could align ourselves to his best friends. We could distance ourselves from his opinions of worst enemies, all from just being able to understand just how these core values come together. And just to kind of reiterate what logic actually is, it's you're pretty much on, you hit it on the head, like dead on right there. It's the it's the individual's data bank of accumulated knowledge. It's their ability of producing methodologies of traveling from problem to solution, the premise of that, to coming straight up to the conclusion. They use internal biases. They use external evidence to come together. They use facts. They use experiences to determine this path, this journey from being able to deduce from A to B. That's what we're going to be able to do. And it's very rootly, strongly connected to influences, what we're going to be talking about and breaking down. But yeah, guys, these are going to be the three fundamental pillars that once understood, once broken down, like I say understood as they like, there's no way. There's no way. I don't even understand half of this crap. But by understanding and just reading on this subject or exploring or talking on these subjects, you wouldn't believe what that will do to your mind's eye when it comes to engaging in new dialogue, entering new marketplaces, talking to new people, and all of those actions predicated on, I want to have the highest probability of this person liking me, this person engaging with me, this person taking out their credit card, using their hard-earned money and putting it into my lap. All of these notions, these series of actions are all predicated on, without even knowing the definitions or exploring these concepts before. I guarantee that the fact that you're here on this call now, the fact that you're hopefully a well-balanced human being that construct arguments, that has opinions, that has feelings, you use this without even realizing. And from your own internal biases of these feelings, these opinions, the strengths of your beliefs, to the point of you debating it with anybody if they say different, no matter if that is from ethical expansions of discussion, or if that's downright just he's wrong and I'm getting angry because of it, because he's just spewing crap. All of this is rooted in like really deep shit, but we will understand just by understanding this, or at least being aware of it. If we're writing, if we're building a funnel, if we're building an offer, if we're crafting offers together, you'll be a god. You'll get these conversions like absolutely insane, and you'll get them in such a way as you're being ethical. Technically, you're manipulative because you understand how people are wired, and you're able to rework it in such a way as you can reverse engineer. If this is your output that you want, what are the inputs that are going to get that person to this situation that they're in their front of their mind as they're making that action without you telling them to? Yeah, that's manipulating, but It's as long as you're providing a good service, you're not going to fraudulently hurt somebody. You're in it for the best of that person. Then why not? Why not help this person to make this decision? But as every call starts with a legal disclaimer, you could very easily just be a downright fraudulent, manipulative liar that would just push these to people that would buy shit that is just downright wrong. And that's a whole different conversation, which you and your God and whoever you hold valuable in your life will need to kind of like put in check for you. As we had another conversation at the end of another call about reasons, the big why questions, and why somebody would even bother to do this, because they couldn't rationally understand outside of monetary gain why another human being would do anything. All comes into these three core fundamental pillars. Now, I recommend you take a screenshot of this, write it out, talk about it, think about it. But those are the three core definitions, the three core pillars, as I've said. So if you want to explore, expand your mind on how to think like others and understand why people are different and the reasons why they're different, these are three very strong foundations to equip in your mind, and these will take you through life in a way that's, I don't know, like more enriching and more, you can see more in color, because not only can you now not get offended or opinionated or hurt around opinions that are based upon things that are outright lies, but you're able to see how that person's come to that conclusion for them to say that. And then you're able to deduce, oh, okay, this person just hasn't been exposed to facts. They're not emotionally sound to be able to explore the pursuit of, I don't know, additional opinions on something, and understand that those opinions are just that. They're predicated upon my value of this, or my logic on how this has come together. I'm basing it on this, and this. Maybe they didn't know that that fact exists, or that sliver, that new vein of study that's been created, that's now been produced and validated, is in fact reality. You would be amazed at how internally enriching, or not, just being able to have a conversation like this with an individual over dinner, over coffee, every now and then. Wide reaching internal opinions and biases that they have. How it's like only eating one type of food your whole life. And then all of a sudden you're introduced to a new, I don't want to say culture because that's too large of a word, because we're talking about baby steps here. We're talking about seeds. We're talking about like somebody introducing or recommending a new film or a game to you that you've never explored or seen before. It just opens up so much to you. Or watching a new show on Netflix and being so captivated into it, and then when it ends, you have an existential crisis. Like, what the hell do I do now? That's been my ritual every morning, eating breakfast. I've got no episodes left. It just takes you along a journey that's just, I don't know. It's like it's one of the core, I don't know, pillars of me, I would suggest, on how and why I valued long form conversation so much, because I use these pillars, or I've taken these pillars out of just loving having conversations with so many different people all the time, and getting paid for it through enrichment of my perspectives, the color of the taste and the sights and the smells that are presented to me via these other individuals' perceptions of philosophical value and their perceptions of cost and loss, giving me perspective on that. It's insane. And then when you're able to use this in the context of your marketing, just imagine being able to do that. Imagine being able to recommend to somebody that a solution to that Netflix film and nailing it. This is that, like, thank you God, this is just as good as the first one. Or recommending them a solution to a problem. Now I'm thinking very broadly here, but don't cross-pollinate this statement with just the whole classic problem solution bullshit. But being able to relay something from your own catalog of experiences and intertwining it with a solution that's aligned to that person, it's insane. Like, you're going to be building relationships that are at a level that you most people don't even have with lifelong friends, and you can start conversations like that, and then being able to amass a brand value to this, a personal value to this, that other people can see and vouch for that. Most people see big brands and advocates of certain views, and they articulate those values and opinions so fluently that it just encapsulates people's that feel the same way, that hold the same values, but are struggling to articulate them as eloquently and as beautifully as this party on the podium. And this is where hive minds and mob mentalities and hero figures are born from. If we can understand that, we can capsulate and build our own brands on this on such a scale as these large scale analogies, but also on the small and minute initial introduction to an offer, initial introduction to a service, an initial conversation about how this does this. Those use of words are pulled from these data banks, these three core pillars that are all in your mind, that are all sitting there, that are all churning away at all times. Now, these are just three very important pillars, but at the same time, there are more than just these three. The roots and the I don't know, the avenues and the depths of philosophical and scientific debate and discussion goes well beyond just three simplistic terminologies. But what I was describing to you, understanding and feeling this, accepting it, moving on with it, we're able to, okay, if these are the tools I'm going to be using here, I understand what they are now. I'm going to be able to look out of my window, so to speak, and begin to articulate a plan around my own internal goals, desires, wants, pains, and pleasures. How can I do that in this context of this mastery group, this business, this capitalistic fucking thing that we're doing here, exchanging the solution for monetary return here en masse? How are we able to do that? Well, we know that these people, everybody operates on these functions, these snippets of code that is rooted in our brain. If we understand this is how people work, operate, and communicate, and think, and digest, and store, and then regurgitate this information, we're able to design plans around this. We're able to think left, right, up, down. What's going to be working with this? How can we produce something with this that's going to get our actions that we so desire? You with me? Of course you are. Most people are probably falling asleep by now. Like, fuck me, like, Jordan, like, we're only 30 minutes in and I really want to kill myself. But this is some deep crap that I've yet to have anybody want to talk about, that want to explore. But I find these points so important and so critical to any strategic plan, to the production of any tactic that goes within a strategy. Like, if we're going to be hunting boars, and you don't talk about the strength of that boar, the power of that boar's tusks, how fast it can run, how strong its sense of smell is, the weakness of its eyesight at night. Like, but we're going out to hunt these things. It's the same logic fallacy when people don't discuss how a mind and how a decision is formed, and in a consumer or a business owner's mind, that it's just crazy to me. Like, we want sales, we want people seeing our emails, we want people looking at our offers as not just any other offer. We want people ultimately taking their credit card out, but we don't ever want to, or we're so naive as we don't think this stuff matters, to think that, okay, if I want these actions, I'm just going to go out there and see if I can find a boar. But if we could stick in a classroom for a little while, just talk about these things and how people think and how they act and how they produce these decisions, we can, like I said, produce a plan that would indirectly create these actions for ourselves. Now, if you're interested in exploring just this one concept, this one pillar, this one chapter on this core a little bit further in your own time, check out these resources. Um, they are very difficult to read. They are not fun in any way. Anything that has the word philosophy in it, yeah, yeah, fuck me. It's like no, thank you. But for the sake of the pursuit of further knowledge and the expansion of, I want to put everybody here's results first and foremost. I want everybody to get more than what they put in. Additional reading and further study resources. Check it out. Take a screenshot. These aren't pretty good. Some of these books may actually be very expensive. I haven't looked at certain editions just yet, but these books are obviously not in high demand. So therefore, yeah, just be aware. And also the logic discussions, that very quickly moves into mathematic based logic, which is applicable for computer sciences and astrology and real deep math work. But the first initial course that videos that this guy puts out, really crash course. Like within 30 minutes you'll have a serious crash course on what logic actually is and how the mind produces the answers before the mouth articulates them to the world, or the fingertips touches the key and constructs the sentence. Why did they construct the sentence in that such capacity? Why did they do it like that? Very, very deep stuff. You can talk for hours and hours on it. So on that, do I even need to read that? The threads of conscious and physical objectified realities. Don't worry, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I got my memes ready. I'm ready to go. So don't you worry, guys. But trust me, talking about that stuff briefly, 20 minutes, you're already now, hopefully you're already at the forefront thinking these things. They're brought to the forefront of your mind. You're already light years away. Light years away from all these other assholes out there making fucking Facebook ad videos and talking to whatever the hell, or looking the same, acting the same, after the same kind of crap. But with this foundation, now let's take it one step further. The threads of conscious and physical objectified realities. Break these words down with me. The threads of consciousness. The threads of consciousness, being able to understand how every fiber of a string comes together, interwoven with other fibers, that formulates a string, which is then woven into a jumper, into a suit, into the uniforms of 10,000 soldiers. It goes pretty damn deep, and I understand how that can come from. But at the same time, gentlemen, once you're able to wrap your head around the application of these technically theories, but it's like, could you call logic a theory? It happens every day. It's all around us. It's happening right now with this computer. It's all logic based. It's all math based. Everything on it. It's all happening. But once we're able to understand that, you're going to be absolute fucking machines, and you're going to be like Jedi masters with. I got my memes mixed up, but anyway, it's supposed to be like a Jedi there, but you get the idea. Like, you're going to be able to really manipulate the stuff and make it in such a way as you're going to be monsters. You're going to be able to knock this kind of shit right out. So let's start talking about it. Let's start talking about individual biases when it comes to this kind of crap. Now, this guy over here, I hated this guy at university. I just didn't understand most of this academic bull crap that just comes with the territory of being at university. I've always felt theory is one thing, practical, useful advice that actually makes something is totally altogether. But I've come full circle, exploring and discussing and talking and doing my own little bit of, like, I don't want to say entertainment reading, light reading on this kind of crap, but at the same time, this is how understanding the individual's, I don't want to say bias because that keeps coming up, but if we can understand the internal series of thoughts, opinions that people have, it has to be predicated on action. Something has to be happening either invisibly, unconsciously, or physically in the initial environment of the individual for these decisions to be happening, to be being manifested into reality. So if we're able to understand that cause equals effect, if we can see what these causes are, we can deduce the effect. If we can see what the causes are and we can deduce the effect that these causes have, we can infer what that individual is unconsciously thinking and feeling, to the point of interrupting that chain of thought with the next step, with the next logical proposition, the next sentence, the next cause, the next claim, the next offer, the next email, all of this kind of crap, because we can construct that conversation knowingly that the variables that have built that person's feelings and opinions at this point is predicated on these simple elements right here from the bottom upwards. So how can I begin to deduce this type of stuff? So essentially, from the bottom upwards, you all know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, but to kind of sprinkle a little bit of sugar to try and wake you guys up a little bit when it comes to understanding the person's opinion, feelings, and where they currently are. We need to see very quick. These are just examples of some of the physical and metaphysical elements that create these opinions, these feelings, these biases that are backed by their epistemological perspective, that create the axiological understandings that they've come to this opinion, this point. It also works pretty well of being able to look at it as like a map. You with me? So that isn't, from my understanding on discussing Maslow's needs, it's not the most commonplace conversation that exists. People don't look at it to that depth. They just look at it as people need air, water, food, shelter, sleep, sex, bare minimum stuff, basics. If they don't have that, they die. They don't explore, let's say, the interconnecting threads that connect these stages. I'm kind of worried I'm losing you guys now when with all this kind of crap. You may have to watch this stuff again, but this is why we're doing these calls, because we're going to have a long Q&A on all of this type of crap. But all in all, what I would like you to do is first understand that these variables are tools. They are a series of perspectives predicated on 80% fact, 20% philosophical debate. By joining the conversation and understanding what these elements mean, we have a series of tools that will help us to look into someone's mind and guess to a probability of competency what they will do when presented with certain choices, actions, and events. These elements, 80% are physical elements, variables in the environment that create certain outputs, certain feelings, either positive or negative. The absence of some of these items can create positive or negative effects on someone's decision and rationale when it comes to an opportunity, when it comes to a choice, when it comes to deducing what I think or feel about something. This could very easily have been cross-examined and changed with Ferrari or Honda or Toyota or Ford. These elements, these physical items, have all biased opinions, but from their understanding predicated on fact, based by their knowledge, by their experiences. Oh, I brought a Ford and I got 5 miles from the dealership and the thing broke down. I'll never buy a Ford again. Predicated or talking to somebody that had a Ford for the last 40 years. but their opinions are just as strong. Singular items, and we're discussing on how those create objectified realities, that by understanding that these realities, once observed, can be used to help us creatively to get to what we want. Now, you guys, 80% of you right now are probably just holding your head in your hand, open up a bottle of whiskey. But we will continue to go over this. We will talk about it, and we will explore after example, and you will see how applying these laws and these rules from a third-party perspective, you can see from the outside in on what's happening with somebody. And then once you understand it from a microcosm level, we can begin to batch people together within these predicated opinions and feelings that they have. And then we can begin to join that group, that ecosystem. Are you with me? And then once we've inserted ourselves within that ecosystem, we can become one of them. We can begin working ourselves up, leveraging and using and talking and being in that community, understanding what they hate, what they love, what they desire, what they despise, what they fantasize about. These elements within the fundamental hierarchy of needs that have been universally accepted by absolutely everyone, unfortunately, they're not really ever challenged, because it's just been the basis of all of this thought and this theory for so long. But I want you guys to think outside of that. So right now, I just used the Ford example, and I replaced it with any one of these elements. I replaced it completely to construct a scenario that you could hopefully get your head around, and how powerful yet irrelevant those opinions are. But the relevancy comes in when you want to apply that feeling to your own goal. Like, imagine how powerful it would be talking to that group of individuals in a room that absolutely despise Ford, and then you initially bring up the point about Ford's being crap. And then you're continuing the conversation rather than starting the point that, so what's everyone think of Ford? By aligning yourself to these elements prior, or at any point, I'm just saying this is one example, you're able to modify your position within that person's, let's say, opinion of you. And once you have that, you can manipulate it moving forward. By gaining those brownie points on that initial discovery of that point and bringing it up prior, you're able to cash in those brownie points with a recommendation, with an opinion. That opinion could be some Ford killer for this Toyota. It destroys these 4 points why Ford is absolutely crap, and it not only does it destroy it, but they've gone hell's deep on it. Toyota have knocked it out. That recommendation at that point along the conversation has credible weight, actionable weight, monetizing applicable weight for us as the air quotes opinion giver at that point. I'm talking very deep. There's a lot of external thoughts and resources that have kind of gone into my current, let's say, opinions on these items. And I don't expect anybody to kind of get them all. As long as you can follow and appreciate it where I'm coming with this. I've just gone deeper in the pre points that come into these elements and these decisions. Or you could just look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's just the bare basics. My product has to tick 2 or 3 of these boxes, or it can tick 3 of them, or it can remove 4 of them, to try and build the individual up and advance them through these stages. Because in theory, the higher you are in this hierarchy, the more, let's say, at one with the universe you are. Like, to achieve self-actualization is basically to be Buddha, to be one with everything, to be at a state of mind where it's like hippie commune times a million. The world is fucking amazing. It's fucking awesome. Most people will never even know what self-actualization is. Most people barely get past the third rank. But by being able to apply this opinion, this theory, this theoretical model of a human's opinion on advancement, of what they want, we can basically manipulate that by just spoon feeding that crap to everybody. So yeah, that's one chapter. The next chapter. Now, brace yourself, because now it's about to get really mind fucking. So don't worry, we're going to go over this over and over and again, but don't worry. So another chapter of this is essentially just what's on the screen right there, accepting raw realities of our existence. Once we accept these realities, we can begin to I don't want to say master them, because master is the wrong word, because it implies unequivocal control. But once we understand what exists, all of this, we can begin to appreciate how insignificant we are in our own opinions, our own biases, our own beliefs, our own feelings, our own constructs of how we come to a conclusion in the grand scheme of mass opinion and mass conclusion making, mass resource accumulation. We can begin to appreciate, okay, if that's how it is, let's see what we can do with that knowledge now. And from that understanding, these questions are produced. What is quality? Very simple question. A question that is rooted and is being brought up and is fluffed about with very simplistic answers from the beginning of marketing. Yet, when you dig into this question, when you begin to explore it, when you begin to actually begin to appreciate where this question can go and where it leads, you can have a million answers to this. And all of you could be right. All of you could be wrong. There is no one answer to this. And you all know that. But nobody actually ever begins to appreciate the unconscious opinion that comes with presenting a situation to somebody. The value of understanding that every single person is going to answer this question differently. They never use that knowledge, that power, to their advantage, to manipulate the outcome into the best of their ability. They never do it. They just assume by predicated on their own understanding of something. Take this question: what is value? Again, it's not as strong or as elusive as the quality question. It's more rooted in a tangible this for that mechanism, but it still holds the same, again, epistemological perspectives and biases that are predicated in this question. What is value? Most opinions on value are predicated on your baseline, your own internal baseline of what a can of beans is worth to you. Can of beans are worth like what? I don't know what it would be in America. Let's say it's like $2 for a can of beans. All right, probably distortionately bad. But then again, that's a brilliant example. You could say, Jordan, $2 for a can of beans, you idiot. You can get a can of beans for 30 cents. This was my internal bias of what a can of beans is, right? This question has been up for debate in my own circle for so long. And it's been new, interesting analogies are being created from it, such as from the other end of the spectrum, taking my own and personal opinion on what is value in the can of beans example to the extreme. Like if you ask what Jeff Bezos' opinion on a can of beans, how much is a can of beans? A can of beans to Jeff Bezos is no different than a 15-bed mansion. It's just the same level of conscious opinion on that word value. But by understanding that internal bias comes from your own baseline, We can then begin to appreciate, by detaching ourselves from that baseline, what a third party would think of it. And now, instead of what any third party thinks of it, what about our target individual? What do they think of what value is? What do they have? What are their initial opinions on that question? Will they even begin to think of it to the levels of what you're thinking of? And if so, it's just like game theory right there. You're just overthinking it. But this isn't just a crash course on how to manipulate one market with one type of person. No, this is a fundamental introduction on overarching qualitative and manipulative discussion on how to move a mass in whatever direction or target that you want to, by bringing up the core fundamentals of what we're doing here. Another question, again, that comes from this: does cost mean the same for everyone? Does cost mean the same for everyone? If you listen to anything I just said, you would say no now. But $10 to you is still $10 to Jeff Bezos. The physical value, the item, those 10 $1 bills, it doesn't matter which hand they came from, it is still $10. But the internal perceptual value of that $10 is wildly different from Jeff Bezos's hand to your hand, potentially. We need to be able to appreciate that these conundrums exist within our creative thought around the fundamentals of this. We are the same whilst not being the same. We are presented with the same questions. We give the same answers, but the nuances in our answer is totally different. It's totally different. It's the same analogy as a 10-year-old working out a basic math problem. 5 plus 5 is 10, they say. Yet somebody with 15 PhDs and the ability to mentally grasp their head around, I don't know, the economics of the moon crashing into the earth, and they can give you that mathematical equation, yet they can give you the same answer to the same question, 10. The output is identical, yet the individual that articulated that answer is phenomenally different. Now that's a really, really deep rabbit hole to get into. But by being able to appreciate that this exists, point number one, we can equip ourselves with more tools, more perspective, more of a creative horizon to communicate, to direct, to align ourselves with people's epistemological perspective, their axiological understanding of what value is. We're able to interject and join their logic streams of what decisions come from for them. We can be a part of it. Another one for you. How can you measure trust? I went one step beyond. I didn't just ask you what trust is, because that's another thing that has a million different opinion-backed answers, but the opinions are all rooted in a fundamentally rooted consistency. We all know what trust is. We all know what respect is. We all know what love is, right? We all know what that is. But you could ask 100 people and they would answer that question a million different ways. So we've just skipped that because we just answered it in the subsequent questions. But how can you measure something so elusive qualitatively? Something that's so fundamentally difficult to grasp, yet so rooted in every much decision that we make in marketing, in finance, in capitalism. How can we measure that? You know damn well, guarantee, every single person on this call watching this recording at some point despised, hated, and it's like, fuck me, there's one more twit on a Facebook ad sending me an email talking about some crap. I was less than zero in your eyes, yet somehow from a series of actions and events, I was able to produce and give something to you that would take that initial opinion of me, which is rightfully so, because fuck those guys, to go from negative 100 to then get to zero. And then from zero to then grow that to a point where you are willing to take out your bloody credit card to purchase something from me. There was a quantifiable metric in your mind that was going up and going down based upon my actions over a period of time. Right? Has to be. The reason that you pulled out your credit card to purchase with me is because that number, that unquantifiable perception of trust that you could say, oh, I like him, or I can't stand him, that number was a positive when presented with this financial decision. It had to have been. It had to have been a positive. If it was not a positive, you would not have purchased something because you wouldn't have trusted me. You wouldn't have liked me. You may not respect me, but it's to the point of me being, you in your eyes, equipped or in a situation or a position of authority to be able to give what's on the tin. There had to have been a metric there. Are you following me? This is getting, we're getting there. Another point. Another thing, this is another massive opinion when it comes to, I say opinion, and I'm meaning the root definition of this, but it's an interesting talking point to continue to build upon the foundation we've spoken about now. Why is trust not uniformly built, produced, created, grown? If my actions as an individual are consistent, use the analogy of 100 people in a room. I'm going to be talking about a topic at random for 5 minutes. And it could be as simple as, I don't know, the color blue and the shade of blue, where it came from. Like something super simple. Yeah. Oh, that's sounding something very simple, all the way to, I don't know, like take this call, for instance, something pretty advanced and pretty deep and something pretty big to get your head around. I've delivered that call for 5 minutes to a room of 100 people. My actions have been consistent throughout the delivery of that call, through and through, from 100 different people's perspectives, right? My actions have been universally the same. Yet, you'll get 100 different opinions on me. And then you'll be able to kind of group those opinions together into similar based opinions. So you'll be able to chop up the room into certain groups, certain cohorts, certain labels. You with me? But why is that? We kind of introduced that action, those opinions and those frames of thinking that happens in the mind that build those opinions backed upon your own knowledge, your own experience, your own biases. I'm not going to say those 3 words again because I'm kind of getting a bit sick of saying them over and over again, but you get that. But also at the same time, I send an email out to, I don't know, 5,000 people, and like 30, 35 people purchased and jumped on this. Yet my emails were the same to those 5,000 people, yet only 35 people purchased. At that same point, talking the last example, if my inputs were the same to those 5,000 people via those simple emails, simple videos that existed, that put out there, why was the level of trust so inconsistently like grown and produced and discussed and in their own mind instantly? Why can we not produce something? Why can our actions not be consistent with a unilateral creation or degradation of trust? I probably shouldn't have said degradation because it can be very easy to piss off 5,000 people. So let's keep it complicated. Let's say how we can universally increase our opinions in the eyes of 5,000 people. Now we're starting to think, now we're starting to believe, now we're starting to, okay, if I want to be able to mass manipulate, to produce, to direct, unconsciously decision, I need to accept and understand that this is a thing. This is a thing that I need to worry about to get around. Another question for you. This is going to really rag your brain. Is attention just the absence of attention? We're getting into some real deep shit, but this is another really strong point you need to get your head around as a marketer, more so specifically than anything. Without attention, all those people have known me, they know how my marketing style is. Without attention, You don't have anything. But in a room of attention, how do you get attention? You get attention in a room of attention by not feeding into that attention, by doing something different. So that's a fundamental illogical statement to be able to make this is in fact true. The production and consistent generation of attention is just the absence of attention. By doing something differently, and vice versa. All predicated based upon the mind, the person, the 100 people in that room, so to speak. All of these, again, predicated and based upon a root foundation of their own internal opinions and knowledge, accumulated biases, all that kind of crap. We're all going to get into some examples, so don't worry. This is still very much philosophical kind of crap, but very vitally, absolutely, if you want to be able to explore this world, because statistically, we all can appreciate there are a series of words I could say here and now. I guarantee it, here and now, there's a series of words that I could say that would get every single one of you wiring me or sending me or figuring out how to send me $10,000. There is a series of words. It will never be 0%. It's definitely not 100%, but you can appreciate it as not zero. It could be 0.1%, but it is not 0%. This is what we're talking about now, and how we can talk and how we can figure out the words in that combination, and then the order that they are said in the medium that we're going to be using, this choice, this email thing, which is of course applicable to whatever other medium you want to use. Attention is just one fundamentally important element of that. Who makes these rules? Again, we're not going to dig into, I need to kind of cut through this a little bit more now, but again, who makes these rules? Who makes the rules? Is it some socially, cultural, accepted norm that is the case? Is it a trend? Is it a fad? Does it come in waves? Is it predicated upon evolution? Is it predicated upon biology? Is it predicated upon childhood? Is it predicated upon your father saying that that apple is your dad for the last 15 years? Is it some kind of level of, internal bias that even determines the authority of that individual that points to that apple, that thus determines the rules? But by understanding that this air quotes rules is in fact an unspoken rule, it is a thing, we can also begin to appreciate, well, if I follow those rules in this person's eyes, I don't want to say endear myself to that individual, that group of people, that cohort, that marketplace. But it's sure as hell going to be better than going against and trying to break or trying to educate or trying to contradict or trying to upset or trying to push something that that person is either ready or wanting to talk about or ready to discuss or go down. Like if I wanted to be that young kid's friend, I wouldn't start the conversation by saying that apple is not your father. In order to begin to bridge a dialogue in a positive manner, you can never disagree with somebody. Sure, you can change the subject, but you're going to come back around to it. The best way to endear yourself to anybody at any point, anybody that's married here will know you just agree to it. You agree to their opinion. Like, for instance, I never argue, ever. I never, ever argue because the fact and definition of me arguing implies that I care about your opinion. Honestly. Now, maybe a couple of you have realized, wait a minute, that the reason why I just kind of said, yeah, you're right, to a couple of you guys, maybe, it's just that I don't care about someone's opinion because I understand the the fundamentals of where that opinion has come from. And that's neither useful, helpful, or educational or entertaining to me. I just don't care. And everybody else is the same. They just wouldn't care. So remember that. Remember somebody that loves debate, that loves argument, that loves opinion pushing. If it's even bloody worth it, like you're going to exchange all of this air that comes through your esophagus that gets manipulated by your lips and tongue, that constructs words that are universally recognized as a language. But fuck me, is that even worth it? Again, off track a little bit, but coming back to the rules, by understanding the rules of someone's axiological understanding or epistemological understanding, we can align ourselves with their logic statements, their logical path. Now, let me give you another example of bringing that together. If I have come across a problem, either consciously or unconsciously, I don't know it exists, or it is apparently a problem that I know exists, and I'm able to align my solution statement to that individual's opinions, their perspectives, their basis of that opinion, and guide them along a one-to-one match, or as close as I could to their logical flow of how to solve something, what do you think that's going to do to the buying decision? Will it increase the probability or decrease the probability? This is where we're going to be touching upon. This is where the conversation's going. This is where we're moving to. So this will make sense. We are going to get there. Just hold on. You can do it. You can hold on. And again, this is, again, my point there. Absolutely critical, understanding the underlying factors. These are just a couple of random questions I just thought up on the spot, like 3 a.m. in the morning. But again, to encourage and build this dialogue, all you need to be able to do right here and now is just to bring these things to the forefront of your mind and go, ooh, and just think about it. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do, guys. But don't worry. Don't bloody worry. Like this big red text says, the challenge of this, trying to figure this out, trying to get reason to it, trying to quantify the unquantifiable, trying to quantitate the color blue and how it makes you feel. As like he says, it's consumed entire lives. It's filled entire libraries. Like, like this guy, for instance, it's taken entire lives, experiences, and journeys to be able to even wrap your head around these concepts. It takes entire pre-journeys to even know that these concepts are apparent in our lives, that exists in the mind. But, it's, like Plato over here, the poor chap, it's like maybe that's a life fully fulfilled in his own opinion in career and choice, or maybe not. But either way, I don't want to like waste 50 years of my life talking about how the color blue makes me feel. Oh, by the way, go and buy Plato's book. It's on Amazon. He's got promoted. So go help him out, put a smile on his face. But anyway, the point of the matter is, accept you will never fully understand this. Accept it. 80% is good enough. I wouldn't even say I'm at 80%. I'd say I know these things exist. I can remember that they exist when people ask me. That's it. I've never once said I understand any of this kind of crap, but I understand that just as gravity exists and it's ever present, just how oxygen is ever present and needed, I don't really understand the overarching effects of gravity and oxygen. I just know they both exist. And when it comes to talking about gravity and it comes to talking about oxygen in the context of a conversation to try and endear myself to somebody, I know enough lines to be able to hopefully get a good opinion imparted from me onto that person moving forward when they ever come to a recommendation or an opinion or wanting to invite me to their Christmas party, kind of stuff like that. Oh, yeah, like Plato just said as well. It doesn't get any more advanced than this when we're talking about deeper rooted fundamentals that we haven't touched upon. Even the use of language biasing an individual's opinion, the socially cultural upbringing of a nationality of it's from the perspective and the scope of this program. Just this video, just this call that we're having right now is probably going to be all the education you're ever going to need to tick your boxes. That's it. Done and done. Done and dusted. Don't really care. It's whatever. So step 2. I didn't know what train. Fuck me. Good God. So all of that is ranted on about. All of that crap. All of those big fancy words, all those ology things stuck to the end of words. This is how I actually apply it now. This is what I was, from that basic accepting that those things exist with the goal, like being a marketer, wanting to create things, wanting to have these actions that I desire to happen consistently, here's what I've done. Here's the strategies that were born from those methodologies, from those understandings. So hopefully now you'll be able to see that it's not just, oh, use this a client avatar I got from fucking blah, 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 blah. He will really help you. It's like, no, you now know why this shit exists. Okay? Totally defendable, totally defined, all here. 2 core strategic variables that I guarantee at any point are going to get ripped off and put in a book and make somebody a hell of a lot of money. But these are the 2 things that I don't want to say I pioneered. It's just 2 encapsulating methodologies that exist that I use to help get more people doing what I want them to do. Clicking a button, opening an email, buying something from me, consistently buying something from me, blah, blah, blah. This is it. 2 very simple methodologies. There are more than this, but this is all that you guys are going to need. Social capital and cost and perceived value. So basically the axiological and epistemological thing there with logic intertwined, all within a core methodology, a framework that you can use when you're presented with a problem. I need to increase my conversions. I need to sell something, blah, blah, blah. First things first. The first variable, cost and perceived value, let's explore it. Let's start thinking about the relationship between these variables, and more so specifically, how it's going to be affecting the buying decision. This matrix, so to speak, that we can use and call upon when we need this action to take place. Now, for the love of God, a couple of you know what I'm about to talk about now, so don't spoil my flow. Don't ruin this. This is going to screw me up. It's broken down into 3 core variables. Just think of these in the most basic form. Cost or perceived cost, conversion probability, and the product and service perceived value. That's it. Just put perceived in the front of all of this stuff. Okay. Let's not make it any more complicated. Let's not just say that, you know, the stickiness of the brand value of what Apple is, even though it's the same technological item as a Huawei phone, whatever the fuck that is. We're not doing that right now. We're doing basic cost, basic product. That's it. This is my opinion on that product. Now let's start talking about how these variables interact with each other very simply. As cost increases, fundamentally, conversion probability will go down universally. This is accepted. As the product's value, remember what we said, what that word means, increases in the eyes of an individual, the conversion rate universally increases. We know this. Very basic stuff you learn at marketing or business school 101. Very basic crap, right? Super simple stuff. But what most people don't actually use and leverage is by applying these laws into a certain situational goal that you want to achieve. For instance, let's use this law here and now as something to deduce a starting strategy. Like you just started, you're a complete beginner, you don't have a lot of money, and we want to be able to grow as fast as we can to then bank that money. Let's just apply that goal into a series of actions and then how it applies to this model and how it can be used to help you. So first things first, we're starting out, right? So we can't afford to run our marketing for so long. We can't afford to have a 1%, a 2% conversion value. We need to have our conversions as high as they can possibly go. So knowing the laws for our conversions to be as high as they possibly can, fundamentally, we need to be able to put our prices or the perception on core actual on-screen, on-price tag number as low as possible. We understand this. With that, we need to have our perceived quality of our product or service as high as humanly possible. This makes sense. I know it does. You guys aren't stupid. With that, we can see from this matrix that this is the formula, the ratios that need to be present for the strategy of initial goals of making money as fast as possible within an object, within a service, within an offer, within selling anything. This is how it needs to be. This is how we're going to get maximum probability of an engagement, of an action, of a purchase. We know this. So maybe the next stage of the strategy, after we've leveraged this, we've banked some profits now, we're wanting to be able to increase the amount of money we're making, because now we can essentially afford to drop our conversions, right? So if we want to raise our costs, we know what that's going to do, right? If we raise our costs or the number on the price tag, we know the conversion rate will go down. That's just how the law works when it comes to this universally. We're not looking at it from a microcosm level like we were at the beginning of this call. We're looking at universal laws now. So if we want to be able to now increase our prices to make a little bit more money, we increase our prices when we know our conversions are going to go down universally. Our product service quality has still remained the same so far. Now we decided to change that. We've begun to take things out of the box that we're selling. We began to take out additional guarantees. We began to take out additional doodads, goodies, and extra things, because the number 6 is bigger than the number 1. So that's why we've added this, 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 and this. That's why marketers add all that extra crap at the bottom of the page, those bonuses and all that other stuff, because it's a bigger number than 1 than the core product or software or whatever it is that they're selling. It's just how we work, just how we are. But let's say that we took out 5 of those bonuses or 3 of those bonuses. So we only have the product and 2 bonuses now. The product service perception right there is going to go down. We know this. So what happens if the product or service value goes down? The conversion probability will also go down. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you begin to understand how these laws universally work from a spectrum, from a market 30,000 foot view, irrespective of all that other stuff, like the gooey perception stuff, all of that, once you understand that, you can begin to think around ways of how you can basically say, not today, and then begin to produce a ratio that just doesn't make sense yet works, such as having a tangible real cost valued as low as humanly possible, and your conversions are absolutely through the roof, and your product perception is absolutely through the roof. So basically, they're buying your product with 18 different additional bonuses, yet your costs are nothing, absolutely nothing in relation to all of this stuff. This is when it starts to get really, really bloody insane. And this is the basic bare minimum frameworks that have kind of skyrocketed these particular brands. And you know this, right? I'm not going to go into the deep depths of it all, but you can see this, you can appreciate this. The Supreme crap, those Oreo cookies, all that kind of crap, absurdly expensive. iPhone 10. You know, an iPhone 10 costs about $300 to produce. Yeah, they sell it for $1,000. You know this. That's a pretty nice margin. Pretty damn nice margin. It's an absurd margin. Yeah, how can they get away with it? How can they do it? Look at this Versace crap. Insane. That's like a $500 shirt. Now, my own internal opinions and biases, I've recognized them. I've accepted, okay, I don't like it. But I understand that, okay, it's more than just me in the world. I get it. But when you understand that that's still 97% cotton, it's, yeah, it's whatever. $500 though. Fuck me. Can't even buy them anymore. They're out of stock everywhere. And like, look, the data of it all. iPhone 10. Okay, $370. I was off by $70. Still a very nice margin. Oh God, this is the Supreme stuff. That shirt right there, normal cotton shirt, $2,500 bloody dollars. $2,500. And as I was looking at it like an hour ago when I put the slide together, over 200 people were on this page. If this plugin thing is even legit, probably is actually, in fact, 200 people. Like, you could go to that link as well and see for yourself. That's exactly where I saw it. $2,500. The craziest thing is that people buy this. And now think about it. This whole conversation, the hour that we've invested in the first part of that call, we're now able to be equipped with the tools to be able to have a good, strong conversation on why that can happen, on why that can be the case. This, what you're looking at right here and now, is just one of 1,000 different examples of clever marketing, clever business, being able to manipulate those, even if they don't even realize it. I don't think Supreme realized what they were doing. I think it was just whatever. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they're a lot smarter than what they crack on to be. They're making a lot of money. So perhaps they are. They're using those tools to their objective of maximizing their returns, what they're actually bloody making. This is what we need to be able to do as well. So essentially, I could have just started with this slide, gone down it all, but now hopefully you at least have an awareness of the psychological train of thought that goes into these decisions, these things, and how this is the case, and what actually bloody happens. So keep this in mind. Keep in mind the initial quick example of how we can use this law, this understanding, to apply a marketing strategy, maximum returns with little amount of upfront capital, because we don't have a lot, but we're willing to reinvest. We need to have maximum conversions at the front end, and then we now have the luxury of dropping our items in our box. We now have the luxury of being able to lose 30% in conversions, right? You with me? Sweet. You're being able to apply how this can actually work now. Next point. The social capital thing. I've mentioned this a couple of times here and there, but I've never actually gone into it. Social capital is just kind of like a word that I use to help describe the mushy, gooey, icky stuff when it comes to this trust thing, this respect thing, this love thing. Like I said before, like, how do you measure it? Here's my take on how I measure it. So the social capital is just that. Like I said, it's just the spectrum of individual feelings that somebody has in relation to you. They either love you, respect you, hate you, or indifferent to you. They're never, technically they could be zero, but the point is that they're along the spectrum somewhere. Let's keep it simple. How they appear and see and perceive you as an individual. In this case, a marketer, a product owner, can you guys see me still? Yeah, you can still hear me. Good. That's how they see you. You're on that spectrum somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Right. I just got a glitch out there for a moment, but hopefully you can hear me now. So with this, how do we take the feeling of hate, right? And how do we quantify that in a quantifiable format that we can actually use to our benefit? How do we know when someone likes us? How do we know when someone hates us? It's pretty easy on a one-to-one basis, but how do you deduce and perceive that on a one-to-many basis? You just can't. You just can't do it. But here's my take on how I did it. Mathematically, I interwoven certain variables. I was able to determine and group certain things and kind of assume certain other stuff, and basically turning their opinions, the feelings, the icky gooey stuff into a language that can be quantified, adding a weighted variable, a metric, an integer, a number to certain feelings, certain actions that from a marketing perspective can be used to measure certain opinions, certain person's value of me, certain people's propensity to potentially do something if presented with an opportunity. For instance, if I presented an opportunity to buy something from me to people that hated me, I'm just wasting everybody's time. I'm going to get spam complaints. They're not going to like it. Well, I'm going to move them. It's kind of freaky just staring at me. You're not going to, and vice versa. If people love me, I need to show them more offers and more opportunities as fast as humanly possible, right? Without basically taking the piss and moving them back down that spectrum from love to contentment to just being like, this guy's pissing me off now. Okay, he's selling out, blah, blah, blah. Very simple. Here's a graph that I've had on my Surface for God knows how long now that helps to capitalize this very, very simply. So this social capital, think of it like this chart. The red parts, like I said, if we can assume everybody, depending upon your medium of advertising, cold email is still very applicable to this, just as for, say, interruption-based ads. You with me? Everybody hates it. They just don't like it. So we need to assume that they hate you and whatnot. And these are just some basic levels that they go through, catch-all phrases, essentially. They hate you, and then they as social capital and essentially increases this quantified number that we've determined. So let's say a minus 100 social capital is like they would kill you if they had the opportunity, to a 100 social capital being they would marry you if they so wanted. You with me? They're there. They would take you. They would have you. We can quantifiably see that on a screen, is what I'm saying. So you see this now, as social capital rises, certain actions and essentially in theory can take place. This graph describes the amount of social capital needed to afford certain actions with people. You with me? So, in order for an ad click to exist, clicking on my ad, certain social capital requirements need to have gone through for I can afford to get that click. How do I do that? Maybe value, maybe an opinion, maybe something that's aligned with their position on a topic. Maybe I've been able to describe a problem better than they are able to describe it. So it goes up. Now, we're not going to get into the particulars that determine what actions create how much social capital. We're just talking around the concept and the theorem around social capital right now, and the applicable use of it in our marketing moving forward. Here's another chart that basically describes something for you. So social capital required to prize. For instance, what I was discussing about being able to ethically afford to present an opportunity to somebody. Let me reiterate that. How much social capital we need in the eyes of an individual to be able to basically get away with certain prices. Look at that Supreme, look at Apple, look at all that other kind of mushy, brandy, sticky type crap. There's an amount of, and how strong our opinions were on the perception of those brands. Like, God, $2,500 for a t-shirt. Yet the person that was going to be purchasing that $2,500, $2,500 t-shirt, you can imagine that their social capital generated with that company prior to that purchase was well and truly beyond 100. It had to have been. It had to have been an extreme metric in order to get that extreme price justification in their eyes. Is this making sense? For you to purchase this program with me, this mastermind, this bootcamp right now, the amount of social capital that I have had to have generated of you subsequently prior to this, for this opportunity to even make sense to you, to purchase to you, it couldn't have been zero. It couldn't have been minus zero. It probably wasn't 100, but let's say it was about 30, 50. You didn't hate me. You didn't despise me. You didn't want to like spit on me. You probably would accept a beer if I purchased it with you. You'd probably could, depending on, but you get the idea along that notion. You were willing to open your ears to hear something. And if I couldn't get you within 5 seconds, then you go straight back in the trash. It's a metric that can be used that we'll start talking about as we go through all this stuff. But I want you to just basically fundamentally just think around this as it is right now. Here are a couple of other charts from the left to the right. Perceived content value to initial time investment. Goes without saying, something that's more interesting, more aligned, more applicable to my opinions, my feelings, my logic, my values, my positions on certain things will help me to stay on that item, that reading that thing, absorbing that content, consuming that item you've produced. The more boxes you tick in my eyes, the longer I'm basically going to spend on that content, and thus the higher opinion I will be able to give you as a result of you aligning all of those values and taking that stuff to me. Now, I'm not going to get into a political tirade, but somebody who's, right-wing leaning, listening to a YouTube video that's reinforcing and highlighting their values and opinions consistently, at the end of that video, that person is going to have a higher opinion than when they started to consume that content. Yet, if you showed the same video to someone that was left-leaning, they would probably leave within the first couple of seconds because they find that kind of crap repulsive and all that other kind of silly stuff. That's what it is. Take the chart in the middle. The probability of desired action to perceived content value. take the same example moving forward. A right-wing leaning political rant video. And in that rant video, the guy recommends you go and check out this third-party resource that talks about evidence, shows data, explores that data. The probability of that viewer that's got to that point in the video to take action upon command or cue, or even subtly from the use of showing charts with source links and all that kind of stuff, you're indirectly telling that person to go there by manipulating the series of steps that have got to that point anyway. The probability of that person taking that action increases exponentially by the more boxes that you tick along that story, that delivery of that story, the conversation of that story, aligning with their beliefs up to this point. And of course, the last graph, very easy. We'd already talked about that with the cost and perceived value metric. Probability of desired action goes down exponentially at the higher the price. This does not take social capital into consideration at all. It's just it's another way of basically looking at that free up and arrow, green and red arrow chart from before. So that's that. That's what we've been doing. That's me looking at that stuff, the evidence and how people's minds works, and then potentially deducing and creating these marketing tools that have been built upon that foundational knowledge and accepting of those facts, and then how I can manipulate those feelings, those fundamental opinions and looks at life to my benefit to get the actions that I want. Now, the social capital thing as well, before I move on, this was essentially deduced for me to do something called dynamic like value propositions and product propositions with my systems. Basically, I was able to kind of root behaviors that I assumed by the actions that you take imply certain things of a margin of degree. For instance, if you click on every email about Facebook marketing, you're telling me you like a lot of Facebook marketing stuff. If you reply to my emails, that tells me that I'm not a zero in your eyes. You've got a higher probability of buying something from me. If I apply both of those metrics, Facebook interests and this propensity for you to reply to me, I'm not just going to send you a product about Facebook marketing. I'm going to position my message to encourage a response from you to talk about this, because that's the medium of which you've deduced and decided to go for, because that's something that you want to do. My system does all of this dynamically. And you can apply certain probabilities of these actions, such as everybody in one of my CRMs in this guru internet course marketing type stuff has a percentage next to their name. But not only a percentage of a probability of their purchasing something from me, but a probability of them purchasing a phone call from me to talk to me. So whenever I'm launching those $7 like call campaigns and things, there's a reason that you guys see that. If maybe you don't even know it exists because you were at zero, there's a 0% probability you'd speak to me. You were able to use these metrics and deduce and build this number that can be used in our marketing. Like, for instance, also social capital is generated by me consistently giving content. Let's say a exploratory, multimedia rich talk on a topic, let's say Facebook advertising again, because I know you like that because you've been tagged as that in my system. After every video, your opinion of me has to increase because I'm aligning my talks, my opinions, my character, the use of my voice, the tone, the background, everything to the character, your hero character. Your opinion of me will increase, aka the social capital number next to your name. Now that we can also now invertedly apply a social capital price to a product. For instance, a $1,000 product could be worth 50 social capital points. A $100 product could be worth 5 social capital points. I could position my system to only send opportunities aligned with your interest that I know that I have enough social capital to afford that transaction with you. This is how I was able to deduce and measure and produce a, let's say, a organic, indirect means to quantify something that's very difficult to quantify, probability of purchase, and then automate that. So this is how I was able to essentially make one product and then sell that one product for 10 different price points and have no squabbles with any person. I could sell one product for $1,000. I could sell that same product for $100. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Just by being able to understand that social capital is a universal metric to help you in your toolbox when you're producing and creating all of this stuff. So that's social capital a little bit more advanced, walking down that path a little bit. We'll get to that in a little bit more detail, probably in the fifth call, when we're able to deduce and imply interest and dynamically priced products with our campaigns. But I think that might be a little bit beyond the scope of this like little mastermind type thing as what it will. But social capital is, I don't know, probably one of the coolest things I've thought it out in a very long time. So all that. So again, I've kind of already answered this next point, but how can we use all of this? How can we do this to better understand what the hell's going on? So we can use it. No. So what can we do to better understand the variables that build these elements? So how can we build our understanding of the perceptual value or the perceptual cost of something and all that type of stuff? These are some of the things that we can do. So we've got to study our audience. So we've got to, the problems that they face, the desires that they crave, their internal stories, monologues, all that kind of crap. Or in other words, the interconnecting epistemological, axiological logic and biased needs. You with me? Is this making sense now? It's finally coming full circle. Of course it bloody is. You guys are smart. You know all this kind of crap. We're going to brush over this crap now because this is where most gurus spend like 20 hours talking about nonsense crap. I've broken it down into two fundamental streams of data generation and study, primary and secondary. You guys both know what both of those means, but if you don't, primary data is essentially research you've conducted yourself. Secondary data is shit that you've found or applied or discovered from somebody else. It's kind of similar to what you were doing. Screenshot that if you want to like look at it all. It's pretty simple kind of stuff. It's just research. It's all that is. I've got some help as well, which we'll get to at the end of this course. Some additional like resources to help discover the stuff. Empathy mapping, creative matrices. I got the audience avatar as well, of course, trying not to throw up. An awareness chart, a couple of other things that it's all going to be in the download type crap. Help in actually doing it. Screenshot this. This is some resources and tools to help you get insights into a demographic and audience and be able to kind of think along their lines and to chameleon yourself into their hero characters and all that type of crap and knocking it all out. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff. You guys are smart guys. You can basically imply that, oh, Google Trends helps me see this. Oh, Facebook, Google search syntax. I could just insert this stuff and then say that. Easy peasy stuff. It's not difficult. So screenshot that. This stuff will help you to produce and create primarily secondary research to accumulate when you're going into your marketplace. So we can get to the content now. No, we're about not too that long now, but gone through the big picture crap. We've had a long conversation upon supporting auxiliary items and experiences around the study of these elements, and we've spoken about how I've used that fundamental knowledge and exploring those points to make social capital, to understand what social capital is, how I can use it, the fundamental laws on the interconnecting relationship of a buying decision in its most basic form, how to then apply that into a goal, to a situation. I'm a beginner. I want maximum conversions. So let's put it all together now. Let's see what we can do. So these are some of the systems continuing that have been built upon this. this talk, this stuff. I've produced and created things called campaign modulation. We spoke about this in call 1, I think. Basically making it easy on myself by bringing together these very complex and rudimentary items that are very hard to get your head around in most cases, but I've kind of grouped them together in what I call modules, so I can then turn them into other things. We'll get to that in just a moment. We've built those campaign laws. Like we said, if we just follow these laws, we should be good to a degree of acceptance, or to a level of margin of error that is acceptable, because you're never going to have an offer at 100%, right? But you sure as can have an offer at 0%. So we understand that those are facts. We try our best to like mitigate and operate within a level of success that we find acceptable. And then I've built this other thing, this creative story matrix that touches and builds upon some of my research that I've been able to create from studying these areas. So you're basically just going to get fast tracked, but I still implore you to explore those areas yourself for your own good. But this is, again, something that I've produced to make it easier for myself, that goes from marketplace to marketplace, to help me create I don't want to say the perfect Jordan cards, because that implies that I'm fucking doing perfectly, but this character that you've been seeing and speaking to is aligned to you in such a way as it makes sense, to the point of you don't hate me. It's like I can listen to you. Case in point, nearly 2 hours on this call, and you probably can appreciate where I'm coming from. How can you create your character either via your brand, your company, or your personal brand, you, in this particular space? I'll help you how to do that. So here are 9 basic modulated campaigns that we're going to be running. We're going to be exploring. Each one of these campaign types ticks a box. They do something. They may do a couple of other things, like one may build content, one may sell, one may imply termination, one may also, and it may also sell you at the same time. But in order to kind of make sense of the complexities of it all, I've grouped it into 9 simple campaigns that we can kind of call upon, and we can use these building blocks, like I roughly touched upon in the first call, to do this stuff. Easy peasy. And this is the terminology and the way you're going to be thinking moving forward to knocking out. You're either going to go really deep within a marketplace, or you're going to be like, 2 inches deep in a lot of marketplaces. Either or is totally fine. It just depends what you want to be about. It's totally up to you. But the fundamental systems don't really change from marketplace to marketplace, because the people don't change. The people, to a degree, change, but like we said, everyone's backed upon a certain series of laws and rules. You with me? That once we understand, they don't change. They're all backed like a computer. A computer will not get up and start walking around your laptop. But, you know that it won't, but you know that it could probably write code for a system to make it walk around the room. I'm overcomplicating it. You get it. It's whatever. And another layout, so another modulation that we've created here. So on the left side here, we've got all of what, say we've got what epistemological understanding is. You understand that there are biases of biases. You understand that you need to align ourselves with a bias to get that couple of social capital points in those first 5 to 10 seconds of attention span people give to you, blah, blah, blah. You've got the systems, you've got the offer database and all that kind of crap. You know how to do it all. The lead generation stuff connects to your data validation campaign. And then we're going to go straight into an activation. 4 emails. After the 4th email, if they don't engage, we're going to purge them and go straight into monetization. Basically, this is just kind of like talking to you and breaking down the benefits of modulation. You can kind of skip a lot of the heavy thinking and heavy lifting just by using these building blocks. Here's another layout. So you could essentially have your lead generation and data validation encapsulated within a singular system, all in all, and then it moves straight into an activation combined with a social capital campaign. So for instance, emails 1 through 3 are content-rich, multimedia, heavy-based how can I put this? I don't want to say content in the sense of what you guys think what content is. A video, a fucking 7-step PDF or some all that kind of crap. It could just be a conversation asking for that person's discovery of the problem that he pointed out. Just by asking somebody or asking for their recommendation and opinion ticks the axiological components in that individual's mind of their value, their associations. You're implying that that person is an authoritative individual on this subject. It's a compliment. If all of the variables remain the same, that would thus infer and still increase your social capital of opinion of that person. Basically, they'll know who you are now. You're not zero to them. You ask them for their opinion, or if they solved the problem, or if they recommended that pet food, or whatever it is. You then respond to them and say, your poochie is now super sleek and smooth. You've now reciprocated that tennis match of feelings and biases. So that's an email 2 right there. You're starting to think and feel this now. By email 4, you could be talking about how you found this other thing. You wanted to return the favor. You now know that they have the higher probability of actually taking advantage of that and doing it, because this circle of reciprocation here, predicated upon your previously conducted research, understanding the laws of how this shit works, you sent them to an offer that's very, very low priced, because you understand high the price, lower the conversion. You've predicated your best upfront offer that you've found right at the front. So much so that in order to increase the social opinion of this stuff as well, you've added bonuses. So it's no longer one product, it's 3 products. That's a free individual free campaign right there. All this is happening dynamically. I want you to imagine sending 80,000 emails out and then being able to artificially produce a response to that 2 days, 3 days later, or a week later, or whatever, as a one-to-many conversation. They will assume and think that you're acting in this and engaging with that conversation string. Believe it or not, guys, I'm not going to go into this because this is where it gets really insane, but there are systems that exist that can read emails, that can understand emails, basically the topic and the flow and the gist of an email. And then from that, an action can then take place. So imagine sending 10,000 emails out, 80,000, 100,000 emails, doesn't matter, with that predicated response of like, how did you solve blah, 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 whatever. You get 5,000 responses. This system will now scrub and organize those 5,000 responses into 3 categories: good, bad, who the fuck are you, or whatever, right? Each then go down their own different chain of dynamically dripped, pre-written content. This is a very advanced stuff. It's going to get very, very crazy to this point, to this degree. But yeah, that's just one potential configuration of it all. Another one. So your initial lead generation, your scraper, and your data validation system, totally the same. It's identical. It doesn't really ever change throughout all of this stuff. It's just one more node. Why overcomplicate it? That's how I thought of it. I just made one system. I could duplicate this system over and over again if I so want, to increase the amount of leads I'm going to be sending out, which is a great scaling strategy, which we'll get to. But here's another potential configuration that we could do. The data that we've scrubbed, cleaned up, is legitimate now. We'll just send them directly to a pre-lander, attach an engagement node that's predicated upon an event taking place on that page. them loading the page, for instance, cookieing them, connecting that instance to that email address. It's much more difficult than that, but we can basically say, okay, this person has done this. They're going to be higher up on the food chain in our eyes because they've done this and this. What a pre-lander is, of course, is just kind of like pre-framing an offer, pre-selling and pre-educating them on what's going to be happening. Goes to a landing page. You could even have an opportunity for them to opt in on that said landing page, and then immediately they go straight into your shared SMTP, your email service provider, to take advantage of those sophisticated automation techniques. I said that knowing that MailChimp was there, cringing, but ActiveCampaign's great for it. It's what they're known for. Now you've got your own list. You could make 100 of these, right, in every niche you can think of, and then just connect them to 1,000 different lists in a single ActiveCampaign account. It's legal at that point, right? They've opted in. That's for ActiveCampaign's tick box. Like, most people don't think like this. They don't do it, but I can, because I've already gated the feelings that I want to produce within these campaigns. They all have pros, they all have cons, they all have requirements, they all do something. It's when I'm sitting there with a blank piece of paper with a problem, I already have these in the back of my mind of what's going to happen. Like the tools, the Lego blocks that I have to solve the problem. Each one of these configurations is just one more way to do it. And another one here, data validation, that goes straight into, you have an API integration or an FTP integration, depending on which way you want to do it, that once you've scrubbed, say, 100,000 emails, let's say you have 50,000 emails from that scrub, you'll just automatically upload the CSV file up to ActiveCampaign, and then that instantly starts automations on their system. Right? You could do that. Totally up to you. Not saying you couldn't. Very easily you could. So many ways you could do it. But we're talking about modulation here. We're not necessarily like the copy and all that kind of crap, but you get the idea. Couple of rules, back to the topic of the core, that indicates some of the how can I put this? I don't want to say implied, but this is the stuff that is deduced and understood by, I don't want to say studying the marketplace, but it's more like, say, studying the person and applying the laws. For instance, what did I say about the price of an offer in relation to social capital? What did I say about in order to raise social capital? Right? In order for that content, that perception to increase to the levels of acceptability to afford that offer's price, we need to be able to have a surplus of social capital generated at that point. How do we make that? Well, easily over a period of time, unless you're just downright good and send out like an amazing, by the way, I saw that you were struggling with this problem. Here's a link that solved it for me. You're welcome. Boom. Way up there, straight away. But again, totally relative to each individual situation and what you actually do with it. But of course, rule of thumb, the more expensive an offer is, the more social capital you need. So therefore, the longer the campaign, the more nodes that you need to tick in their mind of, this guy knows what he's talking about. His opinion is no longer worth nothing to me. Value and quality association of the offer, of course, and that again is understood by what we spoke about in the other laws. And blah, 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 blah. You guys have already probably read that whilst I was ranting. The hooks and logic, a couple of really important laws and rules that you should understand, that you need something that's attention demanding. It needs to be aligned with that user's world and logical way of things making sense. Like, I've been using a couple of examples of, say, using a Ford chat form and segmenting a search term based upon help or a particular part, and that particular part's problem was deduced by your research that's indicated that this particular type of Ford has a transmission hiccup you put these keywords together with this scraper, you're able to probably very quickly find and deduce and produce a very quick list of these people with this problem. Instantly contact them in whatever means you so choose, either talking laterally around the problem, directly about the problem, or offering the solution to that problem, or just touching base with them about, hey, did you solve the problem? I wanted to know if you needed help still. Boom. It's a hook that's going to make sense. They're not going to say, you're not just sending them a fucking dog food offer. It's got to get in there. It's got to slide in there. It's got to make sense to them. Otherwise, this isn't going to do anything. What will make sense to them? What is logical to them? Like, we already spoke about all of that. We already broke it down. The Plato guy. We understand the opinions and philosophical logic. I'm just applying those laws in the real world situation now. Look at it from their perspective is a great way to look at it. I just got an email from some random guy out the fucking blue talking about this kind of crap. It's got to make sense. Here's one structure, one framework that you're probably all ripping off right now, but it doesn't really matter. But the point is that this is the trail of thought that needs to be going on in your mind when you're thinking about these problems. How can I create an attractive hook that's logically backed? This is just one element of that methodology here. Take a screenshot of that. Should help you or not. You'll probably get, like, I don't even know, a massive ROI just on this one initial email. But you could use this for your data validation email. You could use it for your first activation email. Use variations are totally up to you, but that's one of the most stronger performing types of emails. But I'm not going to be the guy that's going to send you a PDF with 50 of the best emails, because that's crap. That's why I spent an hour talking about philosophy at the beginning. And hopefully by this point, you can see my trail of thought. This shit doesn't just come off the top of my head, believe it or not. It is backed by crap. Otherwise, what the fuck am I talking about? I wish more people would actually back their crap and pull the evidence where their shit came from. But hey ho. Here we know. Here's another point here. Stories. This is how you logically construct a transformation, or insert your character along a path that aligns with their epistemological, axiological, and inferred way of thinking, and how they would come about solving a problem. This is how you do it. What did I say about being able to explain a problem better than them? What did I say about aligning an opinion that you have that they also have? Look at the political example. We all know that's a very easy answer there, like whose hero certain followers of certain parties are. So we can, I don't want to actually spoon feed you this crap, because it should be pretty obvious, but we can basically artificially produce and create the situation right here to indirectly infer what you need to do, what we were talking about this whole time, the whole objective, the whole title of this call. Here's a very, very basic example. Using Roblox to build the story. It's very simple, right? 4 emails talking about an aspect of the core problem. Very, very basic. Very, very basic. Yeah. Aligns with the laws. Does the job. It's only when you compare your interpretation of these laws in accordance to the solution of a problem, you sending a golf offer out to people that are interested in golf, and how many people purchase that in comparisons to somebody else's system or implied use of the same laws, and as their system made more than yours. That's what you do. Same old same crap. Could be 18 emails, could be 5 emails, could be a series of texts, Facebook response, redirects, all other kind of crap. Could be a mixture of HTML emails, text-based emails, so on and so forth. But just to kind of like imply and understand the use of a story, pushing for a transformation. Because when you were seeing all of this, like emails 1 through 9, it's just like a number off the top of my head. Like, what am I talking about in those emails? Well, step back, you produce a story. Like I just said here, they guide you down a predefined path. And now if you as the architect, as like the sim player, you're playing Sims, you're that little green diamond thing, you're directly controlling people's lives, but from the perspective of the sim, that's their will. That's what they're doing. We can construct as our own architect a story, a series of actions, a series of drivers that encourage certain elements of emotion that are aligned to that person or that group of people to, like I said, 80%. You're going to do pretty well. At bare minimum. Couple of tips. This is some writing crap now. Yeah, that's my quote. It takes me a long time to write anything, a long, long time. I'm not that great at it, but I understand that, I'm not going to fucking nail it first time, period. So I don't like struggle on like worrying about a particular sentence, worrying about getting it right and all that kind of crap. I just get through it as much as quick as I can. Get all my brain thoughts out, either organized or unorganized, whatever chaos, whatever bullshit that comes with it, just put it out there. Done. It's going to be a series of drafts before an ad or an email or a campaign or a story or a proposition to go into a new market is created. The Pomodoro technique, people that are familiar with like TED Talks and stuff should know what this is. Pomodoro technique is just like having a kitchen timer and setting it to 25 minutes. And during that 25 minutes, you're solely, unequivocally focused on a singular task for just that 25 minutes. Once the 25 minutes are up, your kitchen timer rings, you go away. You reward yourself. You eat some chocolate. You open a window. You do some squats. You feel the wind in your eye, whatever. You do that for 5 minutes. Come back, set it again. That's like one Pomodoro. If you are interrupted 5 minutes in, or you distracted, or you look at your phone, you've got to reset the clock. Super simple stuff to help encourage a like a reward system for yourself. It's a positive feedback loop for actions that you want, and that works with absolutely everything, not just writing. It could be like wanting to work out, wanting to make your bed, wanting to meditate, wanting to read, whatever. 25 minutes. Do that for 30 days in a row. You now have a good habit. Falling in love with your clients and customers. Results. That's pretty good too. That's a very strong motivator for a lot of people. Does a lot for you. Seeing smiles, seeing people's results for having that, I don't know, new car mat that fits their footwell for that car, or that car insurance quote that's the cheapest one that they've ever seen. If you begin to think like that, then you won't have any real. This is why I say that we can do this very ethically and strongly. Like, by sending an email to somebody about an offer that we know we can get them a cheaper car insurance quote, and it's just one email. It's just one email. It's just one knock on the door. It's just whatever. To me, as long as that's like going to actually empower and make their life better, that seems fine to me. And of course, depending upon your regional state law and CAN-SPAM compliance, et cetera, whatever, that may not be aligned with the actual law of the land, but from my ethical standing in the world, I wouldn't kick somebody in the teeth for recommending a restaurant that's actually fucking amazing. It turns out to be like that. That's all I'm after. Also, a lot of people get lost in all of this crap, all of this stuff, what you need. Oh, I need to understand this. I need to write all of this kind of crap. No, listen. Your offer, ladies and gentlemen, is 75% of all of this. So speaking for 2 hours about this crap, and it turns out the offer is 75%. The offer alignment, aligning it with them. So that's where the cross-pollination of knowing that the stuff exists. But the offer is what determines so much, so bloody much. Not coming up with a fancy logical justification of knocking on that guy's inbox, not having a social capital score of 80 plus before you notify them of this offer, not being consistent with all this kind of crap. It's not optimizing with 50 different tests every day. No, it's the right offer, right person. That's it. That is it. Period. You find an offer for Ben and Jerry's for two for the price of one, or 50% off, or whatever, or a subscription or something that they're going for, and you contact you find a list of fat fighters. Yeah, they're not going to give a shit about your opinion or your feelings or the name of your email. You send them that discount. What did I say about internal biases of people that they have? They don't care about you. They care about the thing. They care about their result, their world, their ecosystem. But we know that, we expect that, we appreciate that, and we're manipulating that knowledge for our own benefit. This guy now, Stephen King, a couple of quotes from him, blah, 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 pretty much that kind of crap. Not going to waste my time. Systems to help you write emails, a couple of notepads. I like to use words, so not necessarily a Word document, a notepad document. I like to do the same configuration, but with Word documents, because I like to highlight. I like to play around with that kind of stuff, because if I have a disjointed idea or a trail of thought, or I start ranting, I will highlight all of that yellow and like move it down to the bottom, and then I will go back to the top and start writing again. But this is how you can convey a story much so easier and along certain other stuff. But before we get to the questions and stuff, I just want to go over some of the provided content and stuff with this, as like the extra supporting stuff. So this document here, it's kind of like a story matrix. It will help you on putting yourself, when I was talking about those conveying a long campaign and talking to them and thinking of all this kind of crap and aligning yourself, and I was using the political example, left and right winged individuals, this is kind of where it all came from. I'm not going to go through it all because there's quite a lot, but it all comes together. It's like 12 or 15 core elements of an effective story, and that being effective in case like the transformation. My golf game was this, it was now that. It was like I didn't think it was ever going to happen. I could never drive properly, blah blah blah. And you use it all. It's just like a little tool. It should help you. What else? Which one's another good one? This is another good one. The creative matrix help you to produce and come up with more angles. The secret here is you just take two elements and you write a story around it. You can create an angle around it. And this is universal for absolutely everything. You take any two, doesn't matter. You'll be able to produce an angle on it, either for a Facebook ad, a subject line, a pre-header line, to word around an offer. Easy. So all of you like tree stumps out there, you can still actually use this stuff. Empathy maps. Empathy maps is an exercise that you can use to explore just that empathy, the internal dialogues, how people think, feel, say, what's going on in their minds when they're presented with certain options, certain opinions, certain problems, certain solutions, what they think of all of that. Best way to do this is to print it off and to get some what they call like fucking little yellow sticky things, post-it notes. This is why I have a lot of cork boards. I print these off, I stick it to the cork board, and I just kind of like stab it with information that I've either got through primary or secondary research. But it does help. And I would have this as another one of the sheets that would be around me that would help me to unbiasedly look at their world when I'm looking at my offer, crafting emails, talking around what campaign modulation configuration should I go and explore and use with this? Empathy maps, it's gay as hell, but they fucking do the job. They work really, really well. Awareness charts. Another one is really strong. Depending upon your offer, this is absolutely great. For instance, how aware of is that in that marketplace, that individual of this problem? Or is your solution or your offer that you have not as obvious to act upon? Like, for instance, if I already have insurance and I'm happy with, renewing my insurance or looking for a better provider isn't going to be the forefront of my mind. Yeah, if I'm it's kind of sick doing this, but if I find a list of individuals that want to lose weight, I send them a Ben and Jerry's offer. Yeah, not so many thinking decisions need to go through their mind. But then again, ethics, remember, ladies and gentlemen, like we're not going to be evil with this knowledge and this power, but you could you could do the upper end. But yeah, this should help you. Again, print it off, post-it note, stop stabbing the stuff. Offering, putting items there should help you out quite a bit. And the Heldman headlines. I don't really like these because they're kind of like been cringe inducing for a lot of other marketers, but they work. They work. It's all there. Yeah. Use it to help, to talk, that kind of crap. It works more so in the American marketplaces. Americans, they go crazy with this BuzzFeedy talky type crap. I found in England and Europe and Australia and places like that, it doesn't work as nearly as effective. I don't know why, but again, one of those cultural upbringings of different associations of certain things, I guess. But yeah, so that's that. And now, yeah, so questions. Please don't have any questions. I want to go to bed. I'm fucking tired already. This has killed me. But in any case, I'm gonna have a drink now. So unload. Anybody want to like have the balls or the courage to stand up and ask a question on this stuff? Please take the floor. Are you even there? You guys all left.
I got a quick question.
Oh, okay, right. I wasn't talking to myself for 2 hours. Great.
No, it's just if you were to do just a campaign for a simple email submit only for a couple of dollars, with all this, I assume would that still apply to something that simple as an offer, or is this more geared towards higher dollar products?
The fundamentals of what this is a framework, as a basis of understanding to help you grasp and therefore encourage actions. The type of action is irrelevant. It's just as if, but you could also apply, okay, the level of, let's say, awareness, the level of pre-education, or the level of pre-selling for an offer as simple as I just need to get this person's email to be put in this thing, may not be as high. But you got to ask yourself, it's very rarely ever just an email. It's very rarely ever just a name and email. It's usually name, phone number, address, usually most of these offers. And you got to ask yourself, what could I do? It's period, through and through. What could I do to not only get those actions, but to consistently get those actions?
Right.
I haven't answered your question very well there, but the answer to it is what we've just been speaking about. Just, there is no one chapter of one book to go to that will do that. It's a overarching, I need to understand, okay, I need to align this opportunity, this offer, as just that in their eyes. But will they see it as that? Do I need to have any prerequisites, social capital built with them for them to even take me seriously? Because I'm asking for an action that has a cost next to it, no matter what it is. Monetary, click, open, it's an action, and I'm expecting them to do it. So in order for that to happen, I need to have prerequisites in place. Um,
No, that makes sense.
I would say it can't do you wrong. It won't hurt you by, let's say, crafting and building a campaign with this knowledge, even if you decide to use this bazooka to kill a mouse.
Right.
You with me? So
Yep.
it can only ever help. That's how I see it. I don't try and gauge my. It's like, if I was presented with that situation, I found a really good offer. It pays out like $10 for an opt-in. I'm like, Jesus. And I'm like, I've got to put some stuff together. I'm not going to tie both my arms behind my back and face plant the keyboard to try and like to handicap myself to the level of prerequisite requirements to get that action. God, no. I'm going to, do the best that I can, because I believe that the more people I can afford to ethically make aware of this opportunity, the better they will all be, and thus me, right? Indirectly, well, directly, depending upon, again, your views on all of that. But don't, for one thing, don't feel handicapped or scared by this giant fucking blob of shit I've just put in everyone's lap. Like, Jesus wept. Like, that's a lot to start chewing through and swallowing and digesting. Don't, for one, be intimidated by that, and thus don't let that initial reaction and feelings of that giant blob of shit on the table put you off from, oh God, I don't need all of this kind of crap to just send out a blast to just a $3 opt-in. Like, come on, like that's not necessarily. But
Right.
I can't tell you what to do. I can only advise, and like the reason why I did this call for 2 hours and not just 20 minutes like most of these assholes do, and just make a client avatar and go to Yahoo Answers and Amazon reviews or whatever the crap, and there you go. That's all you need. I respect you guys a little bit more than that, but the point is just it's honestly up to you. But the campaign strategy that you produce, don't feel that at any point, shape, or time that it's not good or it's bad. Even on launch and running of that, don't ever feel like that. Don't ever feel like it could be better. Don't ever feel like, okay, don't mistake that for like being complacent. But the point is don't feel like I'm not consciously, easily aware of this stuff that this knobhead's been speaking about that I'm in this group of, that it's not at where it could be, or it's not good enough, or I'm not even going to begin because I haven't got a logical justification to connect a cold list to this opportunity. All I would say is you've got one shot with every fresh offer the first time you run it. If you mess it up, you can't get another logical justification, if that makes sense. Yeah. You can't get another run at it with the same traffic strategy. But I was very careful to not say that, because that may paralyze people into inaction, which won't get them to be bloody doing anything, and thus I'm screwed. So, yeah, all in all, I think that just having this conversation with everybody, even though it was just like me ranting at everybody, I think everyone should hopefully be a little bit better off, at least aware of certain things now to help them in the construction of their offers, in the way they think about positioning those offers, how they, I don't want to say build them, but think deeper in relation to them. But again, at the same time, I hope I haven't really paralyzed everybody into fucking alcoholism at the same time. But
no, it makes sense. I think you're trying to say is don't get stuck in the analysis paralysis stage that you're so afraid to fucking do anything that you don't actually do it.
Yeah, but like the Pomerero technique, 25 minutes, boom, get it done. See how much you can do in 25 minutes. You'd be amazed. You could probably build several campaigns in 25 minutes with total focus on paper, of course, maybe not actual like building it, but on paper, knock it all out. You begin the list generation processes. You find 14,000 emails. Who's to say you can't begin to segment those emails into 1,000 email groups and then test different ways and different angles in all those 1,000? There's a million different ways to do it. But yeah, I'm pretty confident everybody will make something. Like I said, it's just I don't want to say. I feel right now like I've been teaching people geology and you're all oil prospectors. Technically, you all know now how to find oil, but I don't want to say get disheartened when you dig 1,000 holes, or don't even pick up the shovel before you find the courage to dig your first hole, because you don't want to mess it up. Everything you're doing here is as cheap as it will ever get. There's no fuck up here. And if you do fuck up, then just wait a week or 3 weeks or a month and then email them again. There's nothing to say you can't do that. People's attention span when it comes to email is 0. You get an email. If you don't get their action when they get that ding, that's it. It's pretty much gone. Most people don't go back through their emails and check it out again. That's why I get away with sending like 4 emails a day and shit, because they don't perceive it as the same guy. So
got it. I appreciate it.
So, man. Guys, my throat, guys. Getting murdered. Come on, Bruno.
Yep. How's it going? So my question is more about the offer side of things. How do you find that, like, how do you come about, deciding your offer? What do you think makes a good offer? From what you've done so far, what's the sort of common theme of a decent offer that people tend to, be interested in?
Call one. Call one. 4 hours on that. You basically just asked me, Jordan, what does a man value in his life? What does he want? Is it his car? Is it his penis? Is it his left hand? Like what? And again, value is perceptual. Value is subjective. Cost is subjective. Value is subjective. You offer a can of beans to Jeff Bezos, he probably doesn't even know what the hell that is. You offer a spoon. Was it whittling? You make spoons out of wood program to a craftsman.
Whittling.
Yeah, there you go. That guy, whittling.
You didn't even get it right that time, but
yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I can't answer that without going over this whole thing again. Like, would anybody like to have an attempt at answering Bruno's question when it comes to how would you determine the value of an offer in relation to, I guess, your objective of making money and that offer converting, but it is still a connection of your audience and all the other variables and that come into play. Like, most people wouldn't care about horse cart insurance if they don't have a horse. How do you determine and engage the spectrum of value of the opportunity of that insurance offer, horse cart insurance, in a room of people that have horse carts and horses? Well, you find out who's just brought a new horse cart. There's lots of different things that you can do to help determine and weight I don't want to say like a good shot, because it's a good 80% that if you've found a list of horse owners, great. There's a good chance that horse needs to be transported from A to B. There's only one way to do that, unless you're a fucking millionaire and you have one of those like RV sized heavy duty horse transporters. is a horse cart. So again, you can determine and work that out by lots of processes and systems, either directly by asking them, putting their hand up, or inferring those elements from them. Just like how I was able to infer someone's probability of taking out pet insurance for their dog if they're willing to join in all honestly, a rip-off dog subscription service that just gives them shitty ass dog toys every month, like $50. If someone has that amount of expendable income, they clearly love their dog. So that's a good probability of them at least having a good shot at opening up a dog insurance quote. But if you want a fundamental, like offers below $1, offers above $7, offers within these niches, offers that don't have this prerequisite, that's when it gets a little bit funky, because that's the cookie cutter stuff I've been trying to stay away from. I think I covered it pretty well on the first call, but other than that, I've tried to stay away from that type of thinking. I've much prefer it is a cop out. It is like, Jordan, you're just a fucking copping out there. You're not actually telling us what specifically to do. Yes and no. I've been telling you guys explicitly what to do on every call, but I've been delivering it in such a way as I felt like I've imparted real value by educating and teaching you on this topic and subject without being a bloody knobhead that just says, here's a template for sending emails. Here's how to do it. I probably will eventually give you that kind of crap, but you know, like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I've got plenty of more time to do more calls down the line and produce more content, more videos and crap. So I wouldn't worry too much about when it comes to that and selecting it and nailing it first time. I guarantee you're probably going to mess up. The point is you just do it. Worst case scenario, you mess up, like you send 3,000 emails out and nothing happens. Yeah, move on. What was the variables that determined that? Oh shit, I sent pet insurance to a list of people that spoke about insurance at some point in their life. Maybe I should have implied or done additional data validation on the dates when they said that, or the context of what that message was sent in, or and so on and so forth. There's a billion and one different things, but the only thing I would suggest and say is you don't rush into it. If you have a question on a particular offer, give context to it, run it through the group. I'm more than happy to give you an opinion on that. But without context or the overarching goal or objective, it's not gonna really mean or do anything, I'm afraid. Again, cop out answer. I didn't really answer shit there, but yeah, man. You're welcome. Oh. I'm terrible at this, man. I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I've been sitting down for fucking hours. Ugh. I'm gonna have to get naked now. I'm fucking dying. It's way too hot in this room. What time are we on? 10 to 8. Do we not have another question that will take us 10 minutes? Anybody want to talk about anything? Surely, for the love of God. I'm assuming that you've just kind of like nailed this shit. Like, I'm the idiot, and I just took me years to wrap my head around this kind of crap. We all good? Seriously? Are we all just waiting for it to
Yeah, I think everything's been covered. It's like, what else can you talk about in this area? I'd be amazed if you can find something else.
Oh, I could, but I need to
I don't
beware.
think we can.
Yeah, very, very tact, strategic answer there, Sam. Like, I want to go. I want to leave. I can't be asked dealing with this philosophical bull crap and John Heineman's square matrix or whatever the hell.
Oh, well,
Did this at least make sense, guys? Can you at least like say in the chat, like, I didn't just like rant and waste like 2 hours of you guys' time? Like, I've never actually delivered a talk on this kind of crap before, ever.
No, I mean it definitely makes sense. I just, at least me personally, and maybe some other people on here, has just never really delved into the level that we're going into, which is good. So I think people are just trying to wrap their heads around it. But this is what you need to do if you want to be successful. Is kind of what I'm getting at it.
Success is like a strong term. It's like if
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah, it's a very good conversational topic to have, and it opens your mind to a lot of things going on. And sometimes it opens your mind and gives you some revelations that some people are maybe not mature enough or open-minded enough to even accept or as a thing. Which as a marketer in this context, you need to. Most other aspects of life, it's like your opinion or the highway, and most of the time that's fine. That's usually the case. Good luck having a relationship of any kind of fulfilling value with that kind of feeling. But you guys, as a marketer, you are going to be architects. You're going to be constructing these scenarios. You're going to be artificially building experiences between you and many. It's very important that we can cover and at least know this stuff exists. So that was kind of my goal here, just kind of like let you know this is how, from scholarly perspective, how we've attempted to figure out a I don't know, like a medium, like a terminology, a way of thought, a way of thinking about this stuff that we can easily communicate between one person and another, for hopefully expanding our knowledge and horizon of these elements. So that's all that it really, the whole goal of it all, I guess, to kind of help you guys there. Funny enough, ironically, we did very little, if any, copywriting. But hopefully, if I did my job right, I did. which is either a cop out or not. Who the hell knows? Oh, my back. Oh. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. And then it's a 3-hour call. No questions, no more opinions. God, you guys really hate me, don't you? Screw that guy. What the hell is this? I could have got Plato's entire work on audiobook for free than to listen to this philosophical nonsense. All in all, guys, selfishly, from my perspective, I think just by talking and airing the stuff out, it just helped me as well. So thank you, guys. Thank you for being the stone-faced, shut up, give me my money guys that I've come to build this love-hate relationship with. Oh. What are you all waiting for? You waiting for me to just go, to leave? You're waiting for somebody to ask a question.
Pretty sure that's like.
Somebody just dropped. Somebody just left. Oh, okay. Yeah. They're leaving now. They're dropping like flies. Shit. I'm only worth 400 Happy Meals. Jesus, come back. Oh, well, never mind. Fuck it. All right, then. We'll cut it. It's 4 minutes short, then round it off a little bit. All right, guys. I'm going to start cutting it out now. See you all in the group. This video will get rendered up and uploaded as and where. Thanks for attending. Thanks for showing up. And I'll, ask you stuff in the group. Give me your opinions on this call. Just post it in the group. I do see it. Your opinion on it would be appreciated. And, it does help me ready for the next call coming on up. So on that note, gents, I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to kick you all out. And I'll see you all in the next call. Yeah, which is pretty soon. So, ta-ta, gents. Have a good one. Bye-bye.